Hello, my name is Justin Thurman, and this is my brief for the Tehendo case study number 3 for the final project for TLMT 313. So the background to this story is Tehendo is an Indonesian tea company. They have 3 lines of tea. One is a jasmine base, one is kind of a ready to boil tea leaf, and the other one is a fruity flavor, which is bringing us its problems. The first meeting happened, and it was brought to the attention that a lot of stores are at a zero stockage for this fruity flavored tea. And the biggest problem that we're dealing with right now is how do we, well, one, how do we fix it, and do through different methods. What should we do in on our route to fixing this problem? So what we have right here, we're going to kind of get into the chain configuration of the company just to kind of highlight how they move products, and then we'll go forward talking about the solutions and everything as such. So the Tehendo company has a manufacturing company within that and distribution. So manufacturing has 10 plants, of course, across Indonesia. One of those plants directly supports the distribution side. So it supplies the distribution centers, and that's the West Java plant, and it only produces the one-way products. One-way products are pretty non-reusable products, so it's of course not coming back. And just kind of delving that a little bit, with the one-way products, it costs the company less because if getting it back in different companies, you won't get your money in return if you try to get those products back or have more centers produce one-way products. So it's good that only the West Java plant produces one-way products. So the distribution side of the house has a few ways that it happens. And that's so from the distribution it goes down to the tea plantations, and then it's 10 distribution centers, the tea distribution centers, the 11 sales centers from there. So you have direct to the customer. It can go from the retailer to the consumer, the wholesaler, retailer, then the consumer, and then the distribution, wholesaler, retailer, and consumer. So those are the kind of the few ways that the configuration is set up from there. So the jasmine based tea and the fruit flavored tea are very distinctive products. We'll look at the jasmine based tea first. Just that brings a lot of stability to the company. It kind of appeals to everybody. It doesn't have one target audience, and less flavor. So it kind of allows the company to analyze and kind of nail down numbers for future ordering and getting it out to different sales centers. So that's the good thing about that. Now the fruit flavored tea, on the other hand, is the problem tea, but actually I think it'll be kind of better for the company going forward. It kind of appeals more to the teenage audience, and that is more flavors, more fruity, and everything like that. But the problem is, once again, it's just too many flavors. One of the solutions that, as a supply manager in that company, I would suggest is that we cut down a few flavors going forward. So let's just say if we have, I think we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have 9 flavors. We want to at least cut maybe half of that and go down to maybe 4 or 5 from there. Initially 4 or 5. We'll look at the annual sales. So of course the bottom sales, we'll probably look at cutting those on a recurring basis. So we won't completely cut them out. We'll maybe make it seasonal or for certain holidays, as we read in our readings that the sales spike during New Year's and certain religious holidays. So we may bring back some of those flavors that we cut during the holidays, so it won't be completely off the market. But as far as recurring consumer assets, we won't use those on a recurring basis. So from there, we will have 4 or 5 left that we still need to kind of slim down to make sure we get an accurate number for analyzing data as far as ordering products. We would schedule site visits to go out, meet with our sales centers, things like that, get a kind of read of what's really selling, and actually talk to some consumers, do some more interrelated case studies to nail down exactly the flavors that are selling and with a high turnover rate. Because that's our biggest thing, keeping things on the shelves and make sure they're actually turning over. So that's what we're going to do. When we get down, we'll get around to about 4 down to 3. And then I think we can nail down and eliminate our sales centers and our stores, retailers, going down to 0 stockage. And once again, to reiterate, the ones that we cut will not be completely gone. They'll just turn into a more seasonal, things like that. And we will also use our promotions for the fruity flavored tea to help people out get that tea. It just won't be available year round to kind of help it out until we get a good number of that, and then we can kind of go back to the drawing board, where our site visits will come in. It'll be semi-annual site visits that we can go back twice a year and say, hey, okay, now they want this more. We can kind of put it in there slowly, gradually, keep it on a leash, metaphorically speaking, and then pull it back if we see that sales aren't going how we need it to go, to prevent our stockage levels depleting in the retail stores. So the temporary demand, the question states, describe the temporary demand. One of the biggest things we read about in the case study are the promotional events. So we'll use an example as a store like Aldi or any of your grocery stores have a buy 3 get 4 free. So obviously, as a consumer, if you have an opportunity to buy 3 and get 4 more, you're gonna buy more, generally speaking. So that's one of those temporary demand increases. As stated earlier in my video, holidays such as New Year's and religious celebrations, people go out and buy more tea. So that's once again that temporary demand. And one thing that Tehendo does is 2 weeks before they increase their prices, they let their customers know. So in that 2-week gap, customers, they're going to go out and forward buy. So they're going to buy a lot more than they usually do because they know the price is going to go up in 2 weeks. And then drops to a level below normal after. So it's a high and then it drops down because they've bought more than they usually buy so they can sustain for a while. So that's why it'll drop below afterwards. So those are a few things that temporary demand increases. And then, certain things can't be analyzed as far as, why people buy. It's just the kind of the market and the economy going from there. So the next thing we're going to touch on is information distortion. And it can be caused by a variety of things. However, I think has a lot to do with the bullwhip effect. So just kind of the up and down, kind of what we just previously talked about was the temporary demand and everything like that. Information kind of be misconstrued because Tehendo has 2 very different teas. So what information is for one tea may not be for another, and that's where it can kind of get misconstrued at times. And then once again with the bullwhip effect, with that supply and demand going up and down, it's hard to kind of nail it down going from there. All right, and lastly, we're going to touch on vertical integration and outsourcing. So one of the advantages to outsourcing, it allows the company to find the best talent out there. Within the company, we manufacture it, we produce it, but when you put it out there for a third party to come in and provide an assistance to your company, you open the door for a lot of things like that. One of the disadvantages for vertical integration is it's kind of a no long-term competitiveness. It's just kind of that slow ebb and flow, getting things done, but it's just a slower growth, so it's not going to be a tremendous spike in growth. And then one of the last things for vertical integration is it's a supply and demand guarantee. So you kind of know what you're going to get with that vertical integration. You know it's either coming from going directly to the consumer or taking one of 4 different routes to get you the product. Also, going back with the vertical integration and the promotion and everything, you know kind of what's going to happen at what times as well. So that's kind of some advantages and disadvantages. So in summary, what we talked about is the Tajendo problem was pretty much how do we fix the fruity tea issue, which was keeping it on the shelves. And the bottom line is we need to cut at least half of the flavors. And then from there, with the half that we're going to keep, we're going to go out there and talk to consumers and customers to figure out which ones we really need to keep. And for the ones that we cut, we're going to turn it into a more seasonal tea. And then we'll bring it back every so often to make sure we're still flowing. This concludes my brief. Thank you very much.